All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz, rocking the Gino I Told You So shirt. Always love to see it. Represent your independent wrestlers, everybody.
Yes.
Big shout out to Gino.
Always support them. Always, always, always. Huge
Absolutely.
shout out to Gino. We'll talk about that here in a sec because that was one of my favorite segments of the night.
There you go. All right. We're going to get into Raw and SmackDown. We are at the penultimate episodes before Survivor Series War Games. It's interesting now they're just calling it War Games at this point.
Yeah, it's no longer Survivor Series. Well, yeah, it's interesting that they're just. I think they throw in like Survivor Series War Games.
War Games. Got to stick with the branding. So War Games. So we're coming up fast and furious. Raw and SmackDown just felt like again pushing pieces into place before they get to War Games to try to shore up some of the last minute matches. And we were talking earlier, there's not many matches for Survivor Series scheduled. There's the two War Games matches and one championship match.
So far.
3 matches for War Games, which is pretty wild because this is one of the big 4 PLEs. I also called it pay-per-view for WWE. Yeah. So I guess they're going to go fast and furious in setting up the rest of the card this week because it happens on Saturday.
We'll it's 1 week away. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. And to just dive into it here, we had Raw with we had Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill come on out, and with Naomi. Sorry about that. Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Io Sky. We had them all out here talking about War Games. Of course, you had the heels out there: Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Candice LeRae, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, all in the ring. Of course, banter back and forth, just trying to build the match, make something out of nothing here. Liv's kind of saying how they're outnumbered and and who's going to be their 5th person. And of course, cue Rhea Ripley's music. She comes in, doesn't say a thing, but screams War Games and headbutts her in the face. And then a brawl just straight brutally headbutts her. And then with a face mask. That was interesting because they're saying that obviously from the attack previously, she had a broken orbital socket. So,
Clearly she does not because she was able to headbutt through the face mask.
I'm about to say you don't headbutt when you have a broken orbital socket. But yeah, this is really more just to build more excitement and tension for the women's War Games match because that, of course, at War Games it is going to be Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel, and LeRae going against Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Io Sky. So. I feel like they kind of just threw that together, but it's really, I mean, the segment didn't really say much. All they did was just set up Rhea Ripley's return in her face mask. So that was that. I don't know how you felt about that.
It felt like it was trying to create excitement for the women's War Game match, but I'm like, they've done nothing to build it up. This is where everything about it felt like an afterthought. It was all thrown together. They're trying to make you care about it by bringing back Rhea Ripley as like the exciting who's going to be the 5th member thing, but they've done nothing to build any anticipation. So it's like very much the opposite of the men's War Game match where they've been building to this for months and months and months. You knew it was going to be old bloodline versus new bloodline, and it was cool, and we're looking forward to it. But the women's match sadly became like an afterthought. And now they're just throwing everything together and saying, hey, let's try to make it compelling. Bring back Rhea. Let's do this. So it was fine. It was what it was. Again, it's pushing people in. And it was short and sweet. It was like 9 minutes. Like this is
which is good. I'm glad they didn't draw it out long. Yeah, they didn't draw it out very long. It was just to the point, and then just move things along. And then moving things along here, we had Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega in a mixed tag team match against Chad Gable and Ivy Nile. Obviously, that was set up prior with Alpha Academy and LWO beefing. Both of them came out. It was actually a pretty fun match. It wasn't like an oh my god jaw dropping match, but it was fun. I had fun watching it. Lots of cool spots. You had the catapult Hurricane Rana from Zelina Vega to Chad Gable. Chad Gable interfering on the tag, and Wade Barrett saying, "Oh, I hope he doesn't get disqualified." I'm like, I mean, we've seen these matches plenty of times. It's not going to happen, but But it was fun to see. Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega got the victory after Chad Gable got a little distracted. After that, you had the Creed brothers come out to help Chad Gable up and kind of, pat him on the back, tell him it's okay. So Chad Gable got mad and just slapped the hell out of, which one was it? Not Brutus, the other Creed brother. Julius, thank you. Julius. I don't know why I can't remember the name Julius. Such an easy one. I remember Brutus, but I can't remember Julius.
I always think of Brutus the Barber Beefcake every time.
That's why I remember. Well, because he also has the mullet too, like Brutus.
Yeah. And so he's always, I'm like, who's the other guy, Julius? Well, and it's funny because then they had that silly, like, you push each other back and forth. Like, I was like the end. And then, like,
Yeah.
he's like, kind of has them shove each other and they go, yeah, that was a little silly. And then they kind of
Yeah.
stand tall. And I was like, you guys lost. Like, everything about it was a little, like, hokey.
Weird.
But the match was fun. The match was
I guess he's trying to say they thrive on aggression. So I guess we'll see what becomes of this feud. I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind a big old tag team match between LWO and Creed and Alpha. I mean, not Alpha, American Made. That would be that would be a pretty fun match. But yeah, that was it. I mean, nothing crazy. Crazy came. This was actually my match of the night: Braun Breaker against Sheamus for the Intercontinental title match. It was a great match, just as what you would expect between two brutes and just beating the hell out of each other. There's a lot of good spots in terms of just hard hitting wrestling. There wasn't anything very big, like soft about this match. I like that. I'm still a huge fan of the Frankensteiner, the run up Frankensteiner, which is actually really cool to see because you thought he was going to hit it because he was trying to get up top and do a setup for a superplex. Sheamus shoves him down, but then he just runs right back up the ropes like stairs. It seems like he makes it look so easy. And if you've ever been in a wrestling ring, I could tell you from experience, those ropes are wobbly.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy, guys. It is very, very, yeah, you got to have some good balance. So a shout out to Braun Breaker for that. That was a nice little run up and then just into the Frankensteiner, which is always fun to see. Lots of near falls and some really, really close near falls in the match. I feel there was a lot of like 3 3/4, like constantly being hit. Of course, the commentating team was doing a great job talking up that this is the one title that's eluded Sheamus because it's true. It's the only title he has not won yet. And maybe he's due for it. I mean, Sheamus has done everything under the sun in WWE, and he's definitely going to be in a Hall of Famer. And I'm hoping that he can add the Intercontinental title at some point in time. But this match was cut short by interference by Ludwig Kaiser, which normally I'm not a fan of. But if you watch the segment prior, you had Gunther kind of reminding him of who he's supposed to be and to not worry about him. He's taking care of his business. Like, you go handle yours. So then he came out to kind of handle some unfinished business he has with Braun Breaker. He did that running drop kick to Sheamus to the ring steps. So that was actually pretty crazy to see too. And maybe it's setting up a triple threat. I mean, maybe that's what's going to be the next match, the fourth match for War Games. Maybe we'll see Ludwig Kaiser, Braun Breaker, and Sheamus, which, in all honesty, if that's what it's building to, I'm excited for because that would actually be a really, really good match. But your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was match of the night, same thing. I was a little bummed with the ending being a no contest because I'm like, I feel like they do that too much. It's too many no contest endings. I think they could have accomplished the same thing. There was something similar that happened on SmackDown, but on SmackDown, the match ended clean. It was a clean win, and then it was after that it played out. So I kind of wish they had taken that approach here and not had Kaiser cause a no contest because, again, they do this all the time. But it made sense because Kaiser has history with Sheamus also. He's got history with Sheamus. He's got history with Braun Breaker. So that all kind of worked out. But match of the night, just wish they had waited. Like, let Braun Breaker get some clean wins under his belt, make it real close.
I see what you're saying.
Have him fight off the challenge from Sheamus, and then have Kaiser come in and do something. But
because they were saying this
was match of the night.
Because they were saying this was his first title defense after winning it back, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they. Well, because didn't he have a title defense? Gosh,
I want to say he did. I think he did because I think they said his first one, but I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I know he's been champion for 28 days, but
I want to say he already had a title defense. Yeah,
I want to say he did too. But anywho, I think that was interesting to me. But that was. Kofi? I think it was.
I think it was a Kofi Kingston versus Braun Breaker is what it was for the title, and that was the whole point of, hey, look, Kofi, I got you this title match with Xavier Woods, and that's I could have sworn that was a title match.
I think it was.
I'll have to go back.
I want to say it was. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Speaking of neither here nor there, you had War Raiders taking care of Dominic Mysterio and Carlito, which was interesting because during the backstage segment, after Liv got beat up by Rhea and headbutted by her, Balor offered to take over for the night, take the reins for the night. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. And obviously a little bit something brewing there with Finn Balor trying to kind of do his thing. Yeah.
He keeps doing this whole like egging on Dom and like, and it's like clearly he's getting ready to turn on Dom too.
But like the underhanded statement, like, well, or they could. He's like, you gotta go in there and you gotta do it. He's hyping them up, and then he's like, or you could just piss them off and they're gonna beat the hell out of you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Carlito's the only one that caught on because he's like hesitant to go. And Dom's like, yeah, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. He did not.
Yeah.
They did not. So it was pretty much a beat down. War Raiders won.
Yeah.
Clean. They beat, of course, they beat Dom and Carlito. But then, of course, right after the match, you had the tag team champs, which is Finn Balor, JD McDonough. In case you forgot, they are the tag team champions.
Yeah.
They haven't defended the titles in a long time, but there you go. They are still the title. They are still, champions, and they took out the number one contenders, which I also forgot War Raiders were the number one contenders for a minute there. But yeah, so they just took them out. Maybe that's going to be set up for War Games too. I don't know. I think what it is, I want to go on a tangent for a second, but I think what it is, it just hit me. I think they're trying to figure out which matches to use for War Games and which ones to use for Saturday night main event.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're trying to hash out.
Yeah, well, that's where, like, yeah, with this one, as soon as I saw it booked, I was like, it's the War Raiders who are number one contenders, and they're taking on the cronies. This one of the, like, you got to fight the cronies before you get to the final boss thing. Right. So there was never any doubt on this one. So this was like, oh, there's never suspense. You knew what the outcome was going to be. But I agree. I think they're trying to work out, when are they going to do, which I would imagine they're probably going to do the title defense at Saturday Night Main Event, because it's on like the 14th of December. Yeah. They're probably going to push it down there. I can't imagine that being a Survivor Series match.
Yeah.
At this point.
I don't think so.
They haven't really built it.
It would be good for the Saturday Night Main Event. I think it'd be good because then you can have some back and forth between War Raiders and the champs. But time will tell. Who knows? For all we know, they can jump on Monday night and be like War Games, and who knows? But yeah, so that's what happened there. Main event time though. Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins, their final match that they're gonna have, according to.
Yeah, of course, last one.
It's their last match, but of course, not too long after the match started, you had the Bloodline come out, minus, and I will make this note here. Excuse me, minus Solo. You had everyone but Solo at ringside, which means obviously Solo's going to come later. Then right after that, you had Jay, Jimmy, and Sammy come out with the assist, just because, of course, they will, because beforehand they're trying to convince Seth Rollins. And I think that's where we were kind of talking earlier about how we don't know if Seth is going to be added or not, because he was like, I'm never going to team with him again. I'll never do it. Happen. It'll never happen.
No circumstances.
The golden rule in WWE is never say never. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, so they came out for the save, helped them out. But of course, that didn't stop the interference. They had a pretty decent match. Yeah, Braun Breaker won, assist to Solo. It was a decent match. Just honestly, this match was just really more.
I was like not Braun Breaker.
Bronson Reed, sorry.
Bronson Reed. And it was too many Brawns. The Braun of the Bronze.
The Brawns are getting me, man. Reed. Bronson Reed. The Auszilla is what they call him. So yeah.
So yeah, he did pick up the win, which you kind of knew. This is what kind of bugged me about this whole matchup, is that it was so telegraphed that you knew there was going to be bloodline interference, and you knew it was going to cost Seth Rollins the match. And this whole thing was supposed to be the catalyst of Seth keeps saying he's never going to team. There's no, under any circumstances would he ever team with Roman. And so then this becomes, oh, now he's the obvious fifth member. And maybe it was kind of done intentionally as a red herring.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about what happens kind of on SmackDown. But they've absolutely set this up that you have almost guaranteed interference by Seth Rollins, or some intervention by Seth Rollins on behalf of the OG Bloodline at War Games. Has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it has to. I mean, he's too tied into it.
Yeah.
I think he's too tied into it to not have a part in some way or fashion. Maybe another person comes out to interfere and Seth kind of stops it. I don't know. Or maybe they pull a old trick that has been done in the past, where they lock the last competitor, being Roman Reigns, in the cage, and Seth comes out to get him out. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It's going to be something silly, or it's going to be something really good. There's no in between, unfortunately. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. That was the main event. That was Raw. Very short and sweet. It feels like it flies by now at the 2 hour mark. I guess we're so used to it at 3. Some notable, three notable items I just wanted to make note of here. You did have, after Gunther talk to Ludwig to hype him up, he took off his jacket, and you're like, what is he doing? He's just like looking off to the distance, and conveniently, the whole time they're talking, Damian Priest is like signing autographs on like some sheet.
Yeah, he's like over like 3 feet away.
Yeah, he just like walks over to him and then gets beat up. So Gunther gets beat up by Damian Priest and then walks away. Again, just setting up that whole like Damian's kind of, maybe they're fooling us. This is a swerve all this time where they're showing Damian's getting the upper hand every time on Gunther and making him doubt himself. For the actual, maybe at War Games he's gonna act, or at Survivor Series he's actually gonna snap out of it. And we're gonna get the regular ring.
I hated this segment because it made Gunther look like such a chump. Because he goes,
it did.
It's like he had the jump on him, and then he like just countered him immediately, and then like knocked him down, and then sat in a chair over him, and was just kind of like, "Hey man, like you think you're the ring general, but I rule the streets," and then like just kind of like sashayed at him and then walked off. And I was like, come on, like we've established that Gunther is a certified badass. Like you're not going to tell me that all of a sudden now he has confidence issues, and Damian Priest just has his number.
Yeah.
So it was a little much.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to note was a great pre-recorded promo with Miz and the Final Testament. It actually looked really good. I like the way it was filmed. I like the Miz can deliver a promo. Miz is great on the mic at promos. I think people underestimate Miz's talents and abilities. He's a great wrestler. He's a great performer. He's even better on the mic. And this was no doubt kind of taunting the Wyatt Six in a way, saying like, "Ha, you thought I was done. You thought this. You thought that. You thought you could change me, and all that good stuff." You had Karrion Kross there. My only issue is this that Miz kind of outshines Karrion Kross, who's supposed to be the leader. And so but again, I don't know what the dynamic is going to be for this group like that, for this feud, because then later on in the night, that's going to be my third thing. You had the Wyatt Six. You had Uncle Howdy. It was Bo, not as Uncle Howdy. Bo delivering the promo back at the Miz. And again, just a typical, laughing, sadistic promo, which I enjoyed very much because I like the Wyatt Six. And
I enjoyed it. And he looked eerily like Bray Wyatt in it.
He really did. He channeled his inner Bray.
I did like a double take because his hair and the beard. Everything when he set it up, he looked like Bray, and I was like, "Huh, this is really strange." And channeled the personality, but the look really kind of came through.
It did, and I enjoyed the promo. Again, this is just pretty much furthering their feud. Maybe it'll be a Survivor Series match. Maybe it'll be a hardcore match. I think that's going to be the theme of the Wyatt Six matches. I think they're going to stick to like hardcore rules for them. I don't see them doing like a proper matches, which I actually like. It's a weird dynamic for a faction, but if you keep them at that, I feel you kind of also protect them because you protect whoever they beat, right? Because it's a hardcore rules match. So obviously you're going to be outnumbered. You're going to get hit with weapons and all kinds of stuff. And you're able to, lose cleanly without making your faction look bad. But I think that's what it might lead to. I don't know when, but we're going to get some kind of...
I'm like wondering, do they do it at War Games? Like, are they going to throw it together and do it at War Games and kind of keep with the
It's too soon.
Group?
I think it might be Saturday night. Yeah, it might be Saturday night main event. I think it might be, but we'll see. Overall, Raw was better than last week because there's more wrestling in it than there was last week. So I would actually give it an A-, only because I did not like the finish for the Intercontinental title match. I don't like the DQ finish. I didn't mind it, like I said earlier, but for me, it's just kind of cheapens the victory in that aspect because Braun Breaker got the victory, not Sheamus. And so because Braun Breaker was one that was attacked. And then the other part was I'm a fan of storyline. So this was furthering the storyline for the Bloodline feud. It keeps us guessing, keeps us on our toes. Definitely fooled me when we talk about SmackDown. But that was Raw.
Yeah, I thought I like the pacing of it, but I'll give it a B+. For me, I was like, it wasn't quite an A show, but it was, to your point, better than last week, certainly. And that led us into SmackDown, which opened up immediately. A new Bloodline came out to the ring. And then Solo did with his usual shtick of calling for the acknowledgement from Salt Lake City. They did not acknowledge. And then just said, hey, I'm ready for War Games. Roman's not ready. Roman's not here. And then kind of gave him the ultimatum of, you got to surrender by the end of the night. And that was it. Like, it was short and sweet.
It was like a 5-minute promo.
Yeah, it was like lightning fast, like boom, boom, boom. And it was like, okay, so we've set the table for here's the expectations. A surrender needs to happen. We'll see. And so they opened it up. There just wasn't much to it. And then it went straight into the women's triple threat it's the first round match for the women's US title tournament that's been going on. Kept talking about Bayley's already advanced to the semifinals. So this was Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green versus Blair Davenport. So it was funny on this one. We got a picture-in-picture break pretty quickly, and then a reminder that Cricket Wireless really needs to update their ads because they keep going Alpha Academy, and it's Chad Gable and Otis and their pals.
No, it's because they already paid for it, so they're like, we got to use it.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna run this promo forever, and I was like, man, this version of Alpha Academy has been broken up forever. But they're like, hey, who cares? And they just keep running it. But I'm like, Cricket, update your ads. But when we did go back to the action, it was a solid match. There were some cool spots. Bianca hit a nice 450 on Davenport at one point. The ending was stupid. So this is where I'm going to go. Which I'm thinking, why would somebody cut to this on the jump? This is during the match. And then all of a sudden they just cut to a Jumbotron shot of the back of Jade Cargill basically like yeeted on the hood of a car, looking like a mannequin sprawled out. It looks so ridiculously goofy, where she just passed out like on the hood of the car, completely sprawled. She looked like a video game character, like all twisted to the side. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I was like, whoa, oh no. And then Bianca's like, oh no, and then runs out of the ring. And you got left with what was it? Blair Davenport, Chelsea Green, and then Chelsea ended up hitting the Unprettier on Davenport, and she won. So I'm like, okay, she advanced. It's a silly way to eliminate Bianca because I can tell they were like, hey, we want to get her out of here, so let's have the mystery of who I wouldn't say ran over, who hit Jade with the car. It was Rikishi. He did it for The Rock.
He did it for The Rock.
Jade with the car and left her just like sprawled on the hood. And it just looked ridiculous. And then we got a shot like a little bit after that of like Bayley, Naomi, and then Bianca are all standing there as they take away Jade in an ambulance, and everyone's like, oh, what's going on here? Who did this? And I'm almost like, Bayley. It's like the first thing that I thought. I'm like, Bayley hit her with the car. The reason being is they've been kind of doing the whole Bayley gets kind of shunned in this group all the time. Of don't worry, Bayley, we'll take care of this. I think they're trying to figure out what to do with her. Is this going to be, well, I hit Jade with the car because I'm trying to eliminate her from the tournament, and I'm trying to eliminate Bianca from the tournament? Are they going to have some weird twist where it was Bayley all along that did this? Or did Jade stage this? Because it looks so silly.
That's my thought.
Stage it to get Bianca to be out of the tournament. So I'm like, I was kind of stewing over what's the thought here, but what are your thoughts? Sounds like you're on the Jade's playing possum.
Yeah, so here's my thing. Like, first of all, I the match was going well. Chelsea was actually looking strong. I know she's typically like a comic shtick, but she was actually looking really good in the match, holding her own against Blair Davenport and Bianca Belair. There wasn't really any goofy spots for her in this one. I think they actually had her wrestle serious, and this was something I've always said that people don't get to see of Chelsea, is that she's a good wrestler, and I'm glad she won because I think she's deserving of some victories here and not being the goofy heel that runs off, embarrassed. But this was a good victory for her. I just hate that it's overshadowed by the fact that Bianca. And what kind of bothered me the most was that like she had the match won. And she was like, oh, do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? I'm like, there's medical. Go handle business and then go run out there.
Yeah, finish the match.
It was over.
Seconds to finish. Yeah.
Like the match was over. Like she just needed like 30 seconds to finish the match and she was done. But whatever, it is what it is. She goes out there. Yeah. I feel the way that it was played out. Again, I'm still, because I know that I like heel things. I think this is a setup by Jade Cargill to get Bianca eliminated from the tournament and to kind of turn on her. I think this is just kind of setting the wheel, putting the wheel in motion, so to speak, or putting the plans into motion as to their breakup. But we'll see what happens. I'm curious. I think it was staged. I don't think it was. If it was Bayley, that would be an interesting one. But Bayley's not a heel.
Silly. Yeah, it looks so silly. When I was like, this totally looks staged, and so I had those two thoughts. I was like, it's either Bayley doing it or Jade staging it because it looks ridiculous. And
because they asked Nia Jax, did you do this? And she's like, no. She's like, I'm like, why would she do that? She don't need to hit nobody with a car. She could beat them up. Like, what are you talking about? She'll just beat the crap out of her. Like, she don't need to hit
come on, that's not my style, Nick. What's going on? Because they had that little back and forth with Nick Aldis, like, hey, did you hit her with the car? And she's like, no. Like, when would I ever do that?
All embarrassed, offended. Like, how dare you? I would just beat the hell out of her.
Seriously? And then after this, we got the U.S. Championship match. Apparently, LA Knight's defending his title like every week now. The U.S. Championship match between LA Knight and Santos Escobar. You got when they both came out to the ring, you had a promo hit on the Jumbotron. Shinsuke Nakamura basically attacking LA Knight, calling him insecure and frightened, talking about how fearful he was, that he had reason to be afraid. During the video, Santos Escobar attacked LA Knight from behind, took advantage of the distraction, and then the match was on immediately. Promo video was cool. I liked it. It's kind of the creepy, kind of sadistic videos that they've been doing more so with.
I love it.
With Shinsuke, so it was really, really cool. Match was really good. This was my match of the night because the matches weren't great. So this was my match of the night. And I will say there was never really an outcome that he was going to retain. It was just like, what's going to happen here? How's this going to end? Because they're clearly building this program with Shinsuke Nakamura. So take the title off of him. I love the fact that it did end clean, where LA Knight countered the Phantom Driver into the BFT and got the win. So he picked up the win. He still looked strong. I feel a little bad for Santos Escobar because he's kind of getting jobbed out to people now kind of frequently, where they had him as such
the legado isn't as strong as it once was, I guess, which is a shame. I mean, they're all great competitors. I guess somebody has to take the brunt of the punishment.
It's a great faction and they've lost a lot of momentum, but the good clean win for LA Knight was great. As soon as he won, Shinsuke popped into the ring immediately and laid waste tonight. Still rocking that kind of the cool. He's got like the eye makeup on. He kind of looks like a dead person. I like the ring gear. Everything about this was great. I'm excited. It'll be cool to see them get together. I'm hoping they hold this one off and they kind of let it stew. Don't try to do anything don't force something to happen at War Games with them. It's like, let's just let it build a little bit. If they want to do something at Saturday Night Main Event, maybe that makes more sense because they are doing the women's U.S. Championship crowning at Saturday Night Main Event. So having the men's U.S. title defended there would probably work really well.
It makes sense.
But I loved everything about this. This was good stuff, and I like the way they handled the finish.
Me too. I liked that. This was also my match of the night. I liked all of it. I mean, this was good. I love the promo. I'm a fan of the dark comic book kind of promo that Shinsuke does. I love that they have him speaking Japanese so that it can, you have the translation on the bottom, which I prefer because obviously English isn't his first language. And when they used to force him to do English promos, it kind of took away from it. And I think this is a lot better because he seems more like a true heel. I hope that what happens is next week, LA Knight challenges Shinsuke. He's like, fine, let me challenge you, War Games, this and that. And I hope Shinsuke declines it and just kind of plays to the, I told you you're insecure. You're so bothered and frustrated that you're just attacking. Like, I hope he does something like that, and I just kind of keep building to it. Like he declines it and he's like, no, I don't want to. And like, just kind of more of the mind games and more of the mental, just mental screwing with, and I think is what's needed right now.
Agreed.
I think that'll be good. So we'll see what happens. I like this with my match of the night as well.
Yeah. And then we had like little various news and notes backstage. Johnny Gargano talking to Motor City Machine Guns, trying to get a title match, which they won't do. They're clearly
begging. It looks so bad.
Begging. Yeah. And they're clearly building. I was like, are they building towards a triple threat here? It's kind of how it feels. We'll see if that ends up happening. And then you had Roman Reigns showed up, and then he just walked into the back with the OG Bloodline. You had the Nick and Nia thing that happened right after this, where he's like, did you hit Jade with the car? And she's like, no. And then he sees Cody and goes, Cody, where are you going? Cody's like, I'm going to the ring for this promo that you've been promoting. And he's like, but Kevin Owens isn't here. And I'm like, how would he know that? You're like, what are you doing? The thing that we asked you to do? This guy's not even here. And he's like, I'm sure he'll be here. And just kind of walks out and starts his promo. This was a pretty long segment for me, at least. It was long.
It was long.
Where you had Cody doing this long in-ring promo, basically saying, get out here, KO, I'm going to beat you down. And then KO pops in the crowd with the tuxedo shirt on, like, hey, I came dressed to the nines. You're not even in a suit. And so there was like
I like that. That was funny. I love that.
Yeah,
that was great.
I was like, that was a cool moment. And then basically KO's like, hey, everyone, you expect everybody to jump for you now. I'm not going to jump. Because Cody's like, I want you to fight. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. And then KO just cut a long promo on Cody and saying that all of this was Cody's fault. And you understand why Cody's mad. And I'm like, Yeah, I get where you're coming at. But like for me, I feel like Kevin Owens is right here. I'm just going to come out immediately and say that because he's like, look, we've been fighting the bloodline. They tried to end my career. They've tried to end your career. They've been attacking us this whole time. Like I helped you fight them. I was there to support you when you won the title and finished the story. And now what the heck? Because nobody will team up with Roman Reigns because he's alienated everybody. Now you team with him. Like, what the heck's going on, man? And he cut a very passionate promo. I thought everything that he said was really, really good. And then Cody kind of segued into like, no, those are all excuses. You just like playing the victim and that you're self-sabotaging yourself. And I was like, that feels a little weak. I believe more of what Kevin Owens is saying than I believe what Cody Rhodes is saying here. But he was very impassioned and basically like, hey, you crossed the line with the pile driver and like it's time for us to fight. And then KO's like, look, man, I love Randy Orton, but I hate you. Peace. We'll fight when I'm ready, kind of thing. And then Cody's like, I'm not gonna, there's no line I won't cross now. And so it was just this big, really long back and forth between the two of them. Mostly good. I think it went on a little too long. And I almost hope, like, are you building towards like Cody doing a heel turn? Because Cody's wrong here. Like he really, really, really is in the wrong. And the fact that he's trying to make it about like Kevin Owens just needs to believe in himself more and stop making excuses and being a victim fell a little flat for me. It was overall solid, good stuff. I presume they're building this to War Games.
They probably are.
They've been kind of teasing it for a while. They just haven't announced a match yet, and it'll probably be some sort of a street fight or no disqualification or something. Go over your thoughts.
Same. Cody kind of like when you listen to what they said, right? Cody comes across more as a heel. I love Kevin Owens promos just because he's funny without even trying to be funny. Like the whole tuxedo shirt. He's like, you're not wearing your suit. And I'm like, it's true. He's always in the suit. And it's just like, it's hilarious. And he's like, well, I came dressed up. And so, but anyway, like I thought that was great. But yeah, everything he said was true. I agree with you. Everything is right. And even backstage when he was leaving, Carmelo Hayes was like, he's right. And then it pissed off Cody. And he's like, what? Now he's attacking random people. And it's like maybe being the champion's kind of getting to his head. Maybe that's the kind of that's kind of the aspect or the role that they're the view that they're taking to turn it. Maybe. I mean, I don't know what happens from here. I think it is going to be obviously it's going to be some sort of hardcore Extreme Rules match or no DQ match or something for them because they just want to go at it. So I'm thinking it's going to be for War Games. I don't think they're going to hold out for Saturday night main event just because simple fact, War Games is his dad's brainchild. So I don't think they'll leave him off of the pay-per-view. I mean, that's Dusty's.
Yeah, he really should be involved in it. Like he should have a match there. Yeah, and they've done enough to build him versus Kevin Owens anyway. Yeah. I don't think it needs any more setup.
But the best part of the whole promo was seeing our buddy Gino at ringside, keeping them separated. Right. That was
I'm like, shout out to Gino. Gino, told you so. He's a great dude. We've had a chance to work with him quite a few times with the local promotions here. So always love seeing Gino popping up on WWE TV. So that guy's home place. Shout out to Gino. Then we got, after this, we had Roman and the OG Bloodline saying we can't find a fifth person. And then Roman's like, you know what? It's fine. We'll go out there and die. If we die, we die. I don't have a plan.
I don't have a plan. Let's just do it.
Man, let's just go there and get killed. And I was like, wow, Roman. Well, way to rally the troops, man. Way to really inspire your guys.
That was very Monty Python of him.
If it is what it is. If this is our time to go, it's our time to go. And I was like, wow, he's just throwing in the towel here. So real briefly got that and was like, sweet. And then after that, we got this was all filler for me. I would go through this quickly. Bayley and Naomi versus Candice LeRae and Tiffany Stratton in a tag match that was only set up to devolve into all the women's War Games participants coming down and just brawling wildly with the faces getting beat down. And then Rhea Ripley had to run down with a kendo stick and clear the ring to help them out.
The black mask.
And the black mask on because she's now got to be stylish with her face mask. All filler, no thriller is what I'll call it. This just feels, again, like the desperate attempt to let's try to make this match seem relevant to people because we threw it all together without any build up.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I could have done without this, but I understand why they're doing it because they're just trying to create buzz for the War Games match. Yeah. It was like too little too late.
I agree. It was just filler. Nothing really special about it. It was a repeat of last week. I mean, she came out.
Yeah.
Again, they faced off. She came out. They beat each other up, and then it ended. It was
and then it ended, and it was like, stay tuned for War Games. You'll see more. And we're going to get Monday Night Raw and on SmackDown right before. We're going to get more of that. It's going to be more of just various participants fighting each other, and then it devolving into a brawl between everybody. And filler also to a degree. We had Montez Ford versus Tommaso Ciampa. This was building off of Ciampa costing them the Street Profits their title last week in the title match, interfering. Got a very long commercial break. What we did get to see was really good, obviously, because Ford and Ciampa are great. And Ciampa lost due to Ford countering and kind of stacking him with the surprise roll-up. So I'm going to call it surprise roll-up finish. Is how I'm going to label this one, and which I'm not a huge fan of. They do it a lot. Ciampa snapping and then attacking Ford, and then Dawkins came down to help out, and then Gargano came down to be the voice of reason and cause a distraction. And Ciampa took out Dawkins, and then Ciampa shoved Gargano again. Rinse and repeat. This is like basically the same thing from last week. So
only difference is you had
keep this going.
I mean, the only difference is that you actually did have the standoff there where Motor City Machine Guns kind of were in the ring with Johnny Gargano, kind of helping him out. And Ciampa was looking around. He told him it's them or me, like make a decision. Yeah. So,
well, and I'm assuming it's going to be them. And this is where I go, are they going to throw together like an impromptu triple threat for War Games between these three just to kind of do the blow up? Maybe. And break up DIY. Because clearly they're building to it. They clearly have been building to a triple threat between these teams. You know DIY is not going to win. Like, this is just going to be the catalyst for their final blow up. But they haven't announced anything, so I'm assuming that's going on. But yeah, continuing that. And then we had the final segment of the show, which is the main event, we'll call it. New Bloodline was already this one was pretty brief, so I'm going to put that. We had the New Bloodline waiting in the ring for the old Bloodline. Roman and his guys came down for the face-off immediately. Like, it was just like walked out, then they walked out. And then they're all standing, 5 versus 4. And then Solo was like, I love y'all. I love all y'all. And then invited all 4 of them to join his bloodline so they could rule the WWE for decades. Where I was like, good point. If you guys all did get together, there would be no stopping y'all. And then he said that they don't have a fifth man. They don't have a wise man or a choice. And it was like, oh, they're kind of ominously setting the table for something. And then if they didn't join, they would die where they stand. So again, another threat of murder. We're seeing that quite often on SmackDown.
I was like, Solo, this has now become premeditated, man. Don't do that.
I know.
It's a bigger charge.
It went on record. Said they would all die where they stood. And then Solo handed Roman the mic. But before Roman could say anything, we got the ladies and gentlemen, which the whole place just went nuts. Like
Me too, at home. I think I scared my wife.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been waiting for Paul Heyman to come back this whole time.
Yeah.
And so as soon as it happened, I was like, oh my God, it felt so great. And I got goosebumps. And he had to reset. He walked out because it was so loud. And then he restarted into the ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Heyman, which everybody went nuts for. And he kept it brief too, which I appreciate. It wasn't a long promo. He's just like, I'm not good at math, but we can't do War Games 4-on-5. It's got to be 5-on-5. And the whole time I'm thinking, please be Brock Lesnar. Please be Brock Lesnar. Like, if you're gonna add somebody to go up against Big Bronson.
Well, because there were rumors. There were rumors that Brock Lesnar re-signed and he's not re-signed, but he's coming back at some point.
Yeah. So I was like, this would be great. What an equalizer against Big Bronson Reed as the Beast Incarnate. And we got CM Punk, which was still cool. The roof blew off for CM Punk. Everybody went nuts. As much as I hate CM Punk, I enjoyed this. Like, this made me feel like a little kid to a degree. And it makes sense because CM Punk obviously is friends with Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman, CM Punk tried to help out Paul Heyman when he was trying to get away from the bloodline, where he was like, take me with you and this and that. And they beat down his friend. So there's a reason why he would want to come back.
He has skin in the game. Bloodline.
Yeah. So it totally some people were like, oh, this is random. I'm like, nah, this is not random. Like, this actually makes sense. He's a Paul Heyman guy. He's coming out here to represent Paul Heyman and to get one back for his buddy. And then as soon as he just walked straight out into the ring, brawl started. And then they cleared out the ring. You got spears and Superman punches, and you have the go to sleep, get hit. And you had everybody standing tall. And there's like a little bit of a face off back and forth between Roman and CM Punk at the end, where there's kind of like John a little bit, and Roman's making weird faces, but you couldn't really kind of tell, okay, what's going down here. And then as Roman was going to walk and do the ones, it cut off on my broadcast. So I don't know if they all did the ones and CM Punk didn't or did. I was just like,
I didn't see that part.
It ended. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't go back and try to find it where they had the continuation, because that's how the broadcast ended. It was a great way to close out the show. I will say, I'm kind of left with, So what happens here? Does CM Punk actually make it? Because I think they did too much with Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed. Or does something happen during War Games? So you start with the 5-on-5 and you got Bronson Reed and CM Punk. Does somebody, does who we haven't seen,
Sami
Drew
Zayn?
McIntyre, does Drew McIntyre come down and attack CM Punk? Does something happen where it starts taking CM Punk out and now the odds have been turned, and then Seth Rollins comes down and goes like, he's going to come in and help? Because I don't think that we're not going to see him interfere, but I don't think we're just going to see him come in and now it's like 6-on-5. I think there's going to be something that's going to happen as part of the feud with CM Punk to kind of take him out, or maybe they do it like the Friday night before, where they take out CM Punk and it's like, oh, we don't know if he's going to be medically cleared. What are we going to do? Is he going to be able to make it out? And it's similar to the Randy Orton situation last year, where it's like, is he going to make it? Is he not? Mm-hmm. And then he's not able to, but then Seth Rollins comes out and like is fighting on his behalf. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Because this feels a little messy to me.
I don't think Seth would fight on CM Punk's behalf because Seth hates CM Punk.
Yeah, he hates CM Punk.
But... yeah, so I think it'll be CM Punk in the match. Honestly, I don't think Seth is gonna take his place, but I think we might see Seth involved in some rhyme or some form or fashion. So I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, a couple things. So here's what I think is gonna happen, and this may be a little outlandish, but we'll see.
Oh, I love it. The more outlandish, the better.
But I was noticing that obviously we're talking about Seth Rollins has to be involved in some form or fashion. He has to.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they set it up. That's what they leave us to believe. CM Punk coming over makes sense just because of the fact that, that's his buddy. He's a Paul Heyman guy, all that good stuff. And I was a bit let down when that happened because I think maybe I was too invested in keeping it like family. So I was hoping for like The Rock or Zilla because I heard Zilla signed. So that would have been cool to see. But again, I was a bit let down in the beginning, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, it makes sense because, he was helping him out. He was trying to help him fight the bloodline. However, one thing I will point out is that if you notice, Paul Heyman was not wearing a suit. He was wearing black slacks, black blazer, and a red shirt with the red handkerchief. That's what Solo wears.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's maybe a little note that Paul Heyman's going to deflect. And even his demeanor is a little different because he didn't go in and embrace Roman or anything. He never went in the ring. Yeah. He stood on the apron. He never went in, embraced Roman or stood by Roman or anything like that. He never said, and I am, the wise man to the tribe. Like, he didn't say any of that. Yeah. He just said, my name is Paul Heyman. And out came CM Punk. So my question is he going to deflect during War Games and side with Solo? And then CM Punk maybe gets taken out because he got set up. And maybe it was just to give false hope. And then that's how Seth Rollins comes into play. Or is it going to be one of those CM Punk was a plant and he's technically switched over with Paul Heyman with the new bloodline? And then that's when Seth Rollins comes because Seth Rollins hates CM Punk. So now you got two guys you hate in a War Games match. And now he's going to come out because he can get both of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Those. I mean, I know it's a little out there,
that'd
but
be interesting. Nah, that's cool.
That's just something I noticed.
I think there's a possibility there because when you point that out, he was dressed like Solo because he wears something very similar to what Solo does.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So I think it'd be cool. That'd be a swerve that I wouldn't have seen coming if they do that.
That'd be interesting to see, but we'll see. I will see what happens at War Games. I'm excited for it. It should be a fun match. I love War Games matches just because there's always lots of great spots and lots of good things happening. So, but yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so that was SmackDown. I'll give SmackDown. I enjoy SmackDown a little bit more than I did with Raw, so I will give it an A for this episode.
Same.
I thought it was overall solid stuff. There's just not much setup for War Games, which is next week. That's where I'm like the men's. We kind of gave our thoughts on the men's War Games match. The women's War Games match, I'm just assuming that the faces will win. Like, I guess Rhea Ripley and team will win at this point. And you want to do a prediction on Gunther and Damian Priest at this point? Because I think that's the only other officially booked match for War Games.
I feel they've been giving Damian Priest the upper hand way too much, and I feel Gunther's going to retain, either through interference, maybe maybe you're going to get a returning or returning Giovanni Vinci to help out since his re-debut failed miserably. Yeah. But maybe we'll have that. But I think Gunther's going to retain. What about you?
All right, so I think the logic is Gunther retains. So I'm going to go out there and make a wild prediction on this one. So here's my wild speculation. I think you're going to get a redo of Gunther versus Damian Priest the other way around, because the last time they fought, it was Finn Balor coming down to help his friend, and then instead he screwed his friend and caused him to lose. And I think they've built this whole tension between Kaiser and Gunther, and you need to make a man of yourself, and he's like pushing him around. You kind of see the animosity. So I almost feel like, oh, on the rematch, they're going to do the opposite now. And so you're going to have Gunther run down to help, or Kaiser run down to help Gunther. And instead, he's going to cost Gunther, and he's going to cause him to win. He's like, hey, you told me to make my own path, and you told me to do all of this. And he's going to pull he's going to pull what Finn Balor pulled. And it'll be like a rinse and repeat. And it'll literally be the same two participants again, except it's the other friend betraying him, which feels like lazy writing. But I'm like, they've been kind of hinting there's friction between the two of them. Do you have him pull the trigger here? And now it's the other way around, and neither one really has like a clean win on the other one.
Yeah,
you can kind of use this to be like, oh, let's do the rubber match. Like, we both had like outside interference helping us. You know, you needed that. You didn't really beat me either. And that becomes like, okay, let's run it back one more time. So I'm going to go off and say Damian Priest wins with help from Kaiser. And now it's just man versus man, no interference, build for a third one. But that's probably a long shot. We'll see.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. You never know. That's why I'm wrong most of the time. This is why, because I say things like
that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see that. I mean, because they were kind of hinting at that, because he was even kind of pissed off when it happened.
Yeah. Well, and they've had that happen for a few weeks now, where he's like, there's been friction there, and they've been building to that a little, kind of hinting at it. But WWE tends to do like very slow burns with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But yeah, with that was Raw and SmackDown. Next week is Survivor Series War Games, so we'll be back with our recap of that show. Looking forward to it. Hopefully they'll fill out the rest of the card, and then we'll have more to talk about than 3 matches. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave us comments, all that good stuff. We appreciate the support as always. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone, because it's coming up this week. So hope you all get time to hang out with your families, enjoy the holidays, enjoy them responsibly as well. And until next time, I've been Michael D'Angelo. He's been Big D Daryl Ortiz. Have a great week, everyone. Wonderful holiday week.